Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. The long range meta here right now in Warzone has a lot of really competitive options across a bunch of different weapon categories thanks to the various weapon buffs that they've been doing over the past couple of seasonal updates. And today I wanted to break down the entirety of the long range meta and the best loadouts you want to be running for those situations. So of course, first up, we got to start with some snipers here because those do kind of run the ultra long range meta. The Kar98K obviously being arguably the best sniper in the game, even though it's a marksman, of course. One shot out to basically 76 meters. It's aggressive, it's quick, and of course, it is the Kar98K. It's an icon, so yeah, it's gotta be good. It's gotta be in the meta. Really, all we care about here is the best effective damage range stat and the best velocity stat. And with this build, we are getting the absolute best one-shot headshot range and the best velocity you can get. Sonic suppressor on there first and foremost. The 7.62 long barrel is going to extend out that range of velocity even more. Then a high grain will do so as well. So you end up getting the best possible stats out of that. The rest of the setup mostly is preference. I like no stock on here for the better strafe speed, the better general movement speed, the faster ADS. I know some players like some aggressive slings just because with no stock, there's a lot of flinch when you're getting shot. Objectively, it can be kind of, obnoxious, but if you're getting those one-shot knocks because you're quick scoping, they don't have a chance to hit you and flinch you. And then for optic, this is all preference. I like the Antlers AS7. It's got a fast ADS. Doesn't reload fast though, so that's a bit of a bummer. There are other scopes that'll allow you to reload faster. Of course, use whatever one you are the most accurate and most comfortable with there. But yeah, Kar98K still absolutely in that long range meta. The KATT as well is a great choice for ultra long range sniping because it has that infinite one-shot headshot range, of course. So you could one-shot headshot at 50 meters or 250 meters if you're able to account for that bullet drop, right? So all we care about in this case is getting the best velocity possible. Nightfall suppressor will help out with that. The Zang 34 barrel will as well. The range increases with these do not matter whatsoever. That's why we're using high velocity because it gives you better velocity than high grain would. That damage con does not matter because that's just the range. It'll still one-shot regardless there, right? I also go for the tac pad stock. This thing's ADS speed is abysmal. You could complete a very lengthy list of chores by the time this thing fully aims down sight. Then lastly, I've got the quick bolt on there too. If you're looking for a screenshot, go ahead, snap that real quick. That'll allow you to get your shots off faster back to back to back. So no real change in the sniper meta, but they're absolutely still a part of the long range meta. So of course we got to mention them. Now we know the STG drops off decently hard at its, longer damage ranges. But if you extend out the effective damage ranges, it actually ends up becoming decently viable, especially on like the Rebirth or Resurgence maps where it's going to have a quick TTK up through the early 60 meters, right? So with this, we just want to extend out that range as best we can while still keeping the gun usable. I like Quartermaster Suppressor on this build in specific, even though Spirit Fire will give you a slightly better range. That's something to maybe look into. If you can use Spirit Fire and still stay accurate over range, probably worth running that just to be even more effective in the long range, right? But because I'm already extending the range out with my barrel and my ammo, Quartermaster just keeps me super accurate on there. C70 long barrel gives you that better damage range, so we're out to 54 meters, stacking that with high grain on here too. Obviously, Quartermaster sort of negates the cons that this brings into the class setup. 50 round extended mag and then NIDAR of 2.5 would work here. Slate, as always with optics, use whatever one you are the most comfortable with. But yeah, the STG, not the world's most dominant long range meta, but it's so laser accurate, it's absolutely viable. And then the BP50, this thing's TTK in the long range is phenomenal. Its damage per mag though is not. So you got to be very accurate with this thing. Luckily, it is very easy to be accurate with this thing. So the main update to my setup that I made with this recently is just adding in the new attachments. So previously, Cassis Break was a good choice and it still is decent, but you might as well upgrade to Quartermaster Suppressor. There's no reason not to here. And then DR6 hand stop, also very viable if you care about having a faster ADS speed on this. That's great, but paracord is going to give you better control and then also decent strafe and a faster, general movement speed too. And I think that makes it a little bit more versatile. We also got the Lore 9 heavy barrel for better range, velocity, and control on there. The 45 round extended mag and then the Emote 40 stock, which is better control and better movement speed. So this is a dominant long range option if you know the recoil pattern and it's very easy to master, while also being extremely aggressive as well. Really the best of both worlds, and that's why it's one of my favorite guns in the entire game. The MTZ 556 is also one of the most competitive rifles over the long range. It's gotten buff after buff after buff, so its TTK is super competitive, and I also think it's one of the easier weapons to use while still being decently aggressive here. So again, Quartermaster Suppressor, if you're super comfortable with the control, you might as well drop down to Spirit Fire to optimize that range just a little bit more, but really either or here is going to work just fine. We got the Clinch Pro barrel, which is all range, all velocity, obviously extending our lethality out where we're using this the most in the mid to long range. High grain ammo, doing more of the same with the range and the velocity. 50 round extended mag, honestly, you do kind of burn through this kind of quick. It's got a fast fire rate, so if this was a 60, it'd be really, really optimal. 50 will get the job done. Then lastly, I like glassless optic on here, better firing aim stability. Clean dot sight only hurts your ADS a tad bit, so not really a huge deal there. As always, though, optics are totally preference for the most part, but the MTZ 556 just keeps getting better and better and better, and I love it. And right alongside that, the Holger 556 is doing the same, just keeps getting buffed and buffed and buffed, and it is such an easy weapon to use, super low recoil, while also having an incredibly effective TTK, which is convenient considering you only have a 40 round extended mag here, which is the only drawback of this gun. 50 or a 60, this would be the absolute meta, but unfortunately you only got 40. The fire rate doesn't go too crazy, so it's not the absolute worst case scenario, but it is something you have to learn to work around. We've also got the glassless optic on here as well. High grain ammo, better range, better velocity. Cryo 6 match barrel, better range, better velocity, and better control. Then I like quartermaster suppressor here too. Spirit fire could be a viable choice as well, though, if you really care about getting that slightly better range and velocity out of there. But Holger 556 is also still a great rifle choice. And quick reminders, we are going through all the setups here today. If you enjoy the video, a like rating is always seriously appreciated. It does really help the channel grow, so much love to everyone who takes the time to do so. And if you are new to the channel, or maybe you have not subscribed yet, let's change that. Hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications, join us ultimately on the road to 1 million subs, because every single day I got you covered with everything you need to know about Call of Duty. Next up here, we've got the SVA 545 built out for Hyperburst. So this is going to be the no recoil loadout. You flip it into semi-auto or Hyperburst mode for this. It's not going to bounce anywhere when you're spamming it, and it's going to have a great TTK. So really what we care about here is that range and that velocity. So Spirit Fire Suppressor obviously helping out a little bit with that. The control pros don't really matter in this case. Same deal with the Precision Barrel. We're only using this for the better range and the better velocity stat on there. High grain ammo, pretty self-explanatory by this point. 60 round extended mag, and then the 2.5 times Eagle Eye Optic. Pretty standard SVA setup that's been used for some time, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. This thing still fries. And finally, after getting a bunch of buffs now as well, the MCW base version is actually pretty competitive in the long range. It's not going to have the fastest on paper TTK, but this thing's incredibly easy to use, so you might end up landing more shots with this as opposed to maybe some other rifles or some other long range options. So really happy to see that this thing can fully compete now. I'm using quartermaster suppressor here mainly just to maximize my control. I'm not using an underbarrel because I really want to get better range and velocity too. Long barrel, the Cyclone one there will help out with that, and then you pair that with high grain, and of course you get up to a 40 meter effective damage range, just over 1,000 velo for that hit scan range, so that's obviously great. We got the 60 round extended mag, and then again 2.5 times Eagle Eye Optic. Very fun to have the ACR actually realistically in the meta competition. Now the Holger 26 has been a pretty solid LMG option for the long range for some time, still doing just fine right now. One of the fastest TTKs in the entire LMG category over the long range, and actually one of the better TTKs in the entire game for long range as well. So that, I mean, sort of speaks for itself, right? I do use Spirit Fire Suppressor here. This gun is relatively easy, all things considered, so might as well optimize that range and that velocity a tad bit more. Factory barrel, better range, velocity, and control. Paracord underbarrel, you got the idle sway, you got the better strafe, the general control on there too. We got the 2.5 times Eagle Eye, obviously no extended mag needed with the base 60 round mag. Then I like Ascent Lord stock on here, gonna be pretty convenient overall for the better control. That said, you could actually end up dropping this, putting on high grain, and then maybe switching over to the quartermaster suppressor, and you'd have a pretty viable build there too. So you could definitely test around, see what works well for you, but there are a couple of ways to build this thing out very efficiently. Hey everyone, real quick, just want to shout out my friends over at G Fuel. It's heating up outside. We've got KATT updates dropping almost every single week. We've got Black Ops 6 on the horizon, so whatever you might be looking for from G Fuel, they've got you covered. Hydration tubs to make sure that if you're going out and about in your daily life, you are hydrated, you're good to go there. If you're sitting down grinding some games, leveling up weapons, whatever the case may be, they got the energy tubs, they got the cans, tons of different flavors, so a little bit of something for everyone there. If you're ever interested in picking up anything at all from the G Fuel site, be sure to throw in code IMMORTAL at checkout, and it'll get you a nice little discount. The link for that will be down in the description below. Of course, we got to bring up the TAC Eradicator. This thing is feeling phenomenal right now. Low recoil. I love the fact that I can use an iron sight build here. Anytime a weapon's got good enough irons to use them in the long range, it's such a fun opportunity to really maximize the weapon elsewhere. So this is a no recoil laser beam. We got quartermaster suppressor, straight up got better control. Long barrel helps out that velocity and that range. Almost a 1300 velo, 1255 is so good for that hit scan range. Then a 56 meter effective damage range is crazy. We got the paracord on a barrel on here, high grain ammo. Then lastly, the core stock just for a tad bit better control on top of everything else. Like I said, this thing is a laser beam and it absolutely melts, so that's great too. Now, we've talked a lot about the Pulemyot conversion kit over time, but actually now the base Pulemyot is very good as well. Now, it's not going to be nearly as aggressive as the conversion kit. It's a lot heavier, it's a lot slower, its reload is abysmal, but it does actually melt players over the long range. Like, its TTK is actually pretty competitive here. So I do end up going for Quartermaster Suppressor just for max accuracy, really. The Pyro Heavy Barrel helps out with range velocity, a little bit of control, but really the Quartermaster's doing most of that work there. The Kimura Vertical Grip actually helps out a little bit with our general movement, our strafe a tad bit, and then a little bit of control. So nice little 2-for-1 there. We got high grain on here. We're up over 1,000 velos, so that's effective, that's efficient, and then really good damage range as well. And then just the 2.5 times Eagle Eye. Not really a setup we focused on a ton, but it's actually very good right now after a few updates. And then you guys who have been around the channel for some time know I love the RAPP in Warzone. It was pretty good back in Warzone 2. It's getting better and better here in Warzone 3 as well, especially thanks to some of the new attachments. This thing's probably more effective than it's ever been, while also technically having the best TTK in the LMG category. So Quartermaster Suppressor, yet again, matched with the new Paracord Underbarrel. These two make this thing so effective, so accurate over range, that's very clutch. We got the high grain rounds, decent velocity, really good damage range on this too. 100 round extended mag. Usually you don't need an extended mag on LMGs. I don't want to reload with this thing, so I choose to use 100 rounds, so I reload less, and then 2.5 times Eagle Eye Optic on there as well. Also, keep in mind, this is an MW2 gun. The stocks suck on this thing. The rear grips suck. The barrels suck, so there's no point in using really any of those. And then lastly, to close things out, the SOA Subverter. This thing's actually got a pretty surprisingly effective TTK over range, and I honestly think it's relatively easy to use, especially when you upgrade to the Quartermaster Suppressor and the Paracord Grip now. These things really help attack that S-curve recoil pattern that it has, so ends up becoming a lot more predictable over range. The long barrel on here, better range, velocity, and control. 50 round extended mag, very basic, pretty straightforward there. And then the heavy stock would be viable here, just again helps out that general recoil control. If you are super comfortable with this thing though, you could drop the heavy stock. You could end up putting on high grain rounds, get a better velocity stat. That's definitely the most important part of that, so that's something to consider as well, but that's more so a matter of skill and how comfortable you are with this gun. That being said, that's how the long range meta plays out right now. A lot of very fun options. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like on it, and if you're new here, on your way out, hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications so you can always guarantee you're up to date with everything going on in COD. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.